Hey everybody, Ben here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up for yourself each and every day. So we're going to get into an emotion here that we may be dealing with and we would like to get out of it. So what came up is secretive. And depending on, what the situation is, uh, are we in a place of secretive to protect or to be malicious? Or are we, sometimes when we look at protection in general, it is needed. Like if we're creating something or we have ideas and maybe in the past we're used to people knocking them down really quick. And we've seen how that happens, whether energetically the whole project crumbles or uh, we start to do something and then we start to lose the motivation for it or the drive, or we get some limiting beliefs in our head that kind of knocked it away. It's like, oh yeah, that came up. Absolutely, it's not going to work. Or the internet, I started reading a forum and 19 different people said all these different things, and that totally turned me off. How quickly things uh, take away that true drive in the beginning. Maybe that's why we've been secretive. Maybe we've really pulled back because everyone has an opinion that we don't agree with, or it's just shitty, or people just complain all the time. Uh, maybe we want to talk to somebody, but no one really agrees or validates in a way that is decent for us. I'll also look at the manipulative aspect, and that can also be not just for bad, but it is worried about repercussions. I should really tell this person this, but I'm uh, I'm afraid, or maybe even just let's look at maybe I like someone and I'm afraid of the repercussions. I should say the rejection. You know, what if they don't feel the same? What if they say something that hurts me? You know, what is it that I want to say or I want to express in the outcome? The opposite is open, and that word sounds very dangerous coming from a place of protection. I think we need to come to a place of obviously having discernment, trusting ourselves, valuing information. If we are in a protective state, like I was going back to that idea or project aspect, and if we have in the past seen how quickly people can knock that down or project or place their limiting beliefs, which it is a real thing. If you haven't experienced it yet, think about it. Let's say you were going to do something that is out of the norm of I go to work and I pay my bills and that's the life I live, which is most of society. Say you were going to try to do something that changed that. We're going to have a lot of people that are in the old system that uh, don't like that, and it's maybe they're jealous, maybe they're envious. So no, you can't have that. I don't want you to have that freedom or that experience because I can't. And why can't they? Well, maybe because they didn't try, they don't believe in themselves, they don't have the confidence. So then that's going to be projected onto you. So now all that's gone. You lost your confidence, you lost your drive, your passion. That spark is now gone. It doesn't just have to be jealousy, it could just be uh, uh, like their own internal sadness of like, I wish I had that courage or that confidence or those abilities when really we all do. We just suppress them and we don't try. We don't believe in ourselves, so we don't get anywhere. The other aspect of, I really like this person and I want to say something, but I'm afraid of how it'll be received. Well, wouldn't you just want to know? Why stay in this la la land of do they love me? Do they not? What is that? Pulling the flower petals. You know, why don't we just get out there and get over it? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does, well, that's magical. You know, if we're in a malicious way, and well, that's for them. I can't really talk positive about doing shitty things to one up other people. It is I can't talk positive. I don't know how to on that subject. That's not the person I am. But let's then look at maybe we have some sort of information that uh, would really benefit someone, but we don't want to tell them because how's it going to look on them? How's it going to reflect on me if I tell you this information that would help you so much or give you clarity somehow, but the fact that I knew or something along those lines would give me a false image, or not a false image, a bad image that I held on to this for so long, or I was involved in this. But, wouldn't that guilt carry longer and not doing the right thing? How do you think that reflects on karma? You know, I don't really think I talked a lot about on being open, but uh, it is. Uh, it's going to be more along the lines of the protecting aspect. Protecting our dreams or our desires or our goals or projects and whatnot. I guess the same thing for uh, the relationship aspect. If we like someone, uh, for protecting our goals, we maybe we want to share them or share progress. Which who wouldn't? You're excited about something. We really got to look at, who is a threat, who has constantly had a negative mindset in our experience or knocked us down. Well, those probably aren't the ones we want to share with. Uh, could also just have a very strong foundational uh, boundary in a way that when things come in, we don't take ownership of them. When other people's projections come in, we're not going to take these as ownership. We're not going to allow them to infiltrate into us, change our mindset or our view of ourselves. I think this is a goal that should happen no matter what aspect we have in life, because people are always going to be people and they're always going to project these things onto us, whether it's something important or not. It's just their insecurities. And I do, you do, we all have this experience. You know, it's going to be projected out onto another person because naturally, who wants to take ownership of that trait? So we put it on somebody else and say, well, they're the problem or they're not good enough to succeed or whatever. Also, just look at jealousy in general. But seeing what happens, where was I right before I shared this? And now all of a sudden I feel different. Well, this isn't mine, if it got that far. Otherwise, we just have very strong boundaries on that aspect. Same thing if I like someone and I want to let them know and see if they feel the same or they want to start something with me and we can see where it goes. I'm going to have to be okay. I'm going to have to be in an okay space to be like, I like this person and if they like me, great. If not, I understand. You know, it's not a complete reflection of me. What do they have going on there in their life? Maybe they're working towards something and don't really have the time to truly invest in me how I deserve. You know, uh, maybe I have something on my chest that I should really share, but I'm worried how it's going to look on me. Uh, well, that's our own doing. That's our own self sabotage inside that's making me feel like a bad person. And maybe I was a bad person by not telling this person sooner or sharing this information. And that's something I got to work on. And hey, we've all probably experienced something like that in our life. But I take that back and I say, okay, well, I learned, and I'm just going to be upfront and honest moving forward. You know, I had this experience, I felt this guilt or this shame, and I don't want to feel that way anymore. So I'm going to change that. I'm not going to be that person anymore. So that's okay. I learned, I had an experience. Now, for the people that might be, secretive, doing malicious things, well, I mean, if you're watching and you want to be open about, well, why do you view your behavior as so bad that it has to be secretive? Maybe we should have a moral compass viewing and think, well, if I'm all about self and I don't care about who I knock down on my way up, well, then fucking be that monster if you want, embody that. Uh, if you want to be okay with it. Otherwise, be like, you know what? That's not such a good avenue. I shouldn't be that kind of person. Maybe I should find a way to win without injuring or hurting anybody, on my way up. can't let these people out. We gotta be open-minded to everything. So anyway, what do we got here, Spirit? A Nine of Wands reversed. Clearly, vulnerability, whatever it is that we're protecting, whether in the external or our own emotions or feelings inside, uh, is we're keeping it safe by staying secretive. I get that. And until we get to a place of fortitude and have these walls, can we really open up? We could even just look at this, like healing from relationships or uh, bad situations that created a trauma. Maybe we carried for most of our life, and we just went into that healing experience in general. Uh, we're a little fresh, we're a little fragile. And do we really want to introduce things down that go against that hurt that? And I wouldn't blame that at all. But we can't stay there forever. And when we start to come out, uh, if we view ourselves as vulnerable, we'll be infiltrated, we'll be attacked, we'll be injured or hurt in some way. We have to have that energetic boundary, that view, that foundation of self to move forward. And this would go for protecting a project or a goal or a dream. The same thing for telling someone how we truly feel about them. We have to be in an okay space to express. Otherwise we're at the mercy of the external to affect us. And the same thing if we, need to tell someone something and we're not, we need to be okay with that. We need to get through that and decide, do I want to continue this way? Same thing for um, negative aspect. Last Judgment reversed. Avoidance. Uh, if we're avoiding, let's start with saying something that we should say. Oh, we're obviously worried about the repercussions or the image that it's going to give us. It's probably eating us alive if we even care to share it. That's not going to stop. You carry that guilt till you die. Whatever it is, doesn't have to be big or huge, but getting it over with, making peace with that, and then working on self is the obvious direction, I should say. And then let's say the relationship aspect. I want to tell someone how I feel. Uh, Me personally, I would want to get that off my chest instead of dreaming of something. That's where action comes in. It's any type of manifesting, we can dream all we want, but until we need to initiate something, take an action. Otherwise, it's just there. Maybe we like it to be there because it's carrying us forward in some way, some type of hope or dream that is energizing us. What's going to happen if it gets knocked down? Uh, but being in that place of understanding that, you know, hey, it was nice to have this feeling. And if they feel the same, great. If not, I'm going to understand. Get into that place of understanding. Going back to the project or the dream or the goal, uh, maybe we are stuck in such a place of protection that we're avoiding moving forward or avoiding the idea that we actually are safe, that we are strong enough to have these boundaries to not allow the external projections or negativity to come in and tarnish that drive or that goal. It's a very strong, balanced place to get to. We had another card flipped up here. The Emperor. Reversed. Chaos. This in the space of, if we really start to pay attention to energies in the external, and if we've already weeded out our own shadow aspect, that hey, is this mine or is this something else? There's a lot of chaos out there, and it is a lot of selfishness, a lot of jealousness, a lot of limiting beliefs that are sent out there just by walking past someone. Of course, we have to weed it out to say, hey, is this me projecting out onto them? And if it's not, uh, there's a lot going on, and we really got to be mindful of what we take ownership of. And at times, we take ownership of, as I said in the very beginning, people's insecurities and projections that I can't do this, so you can't. And I'm going to project this out on you. And then all of a sudden, we don't want to do that anymore. Uh, Same thing about asking someone out, do you not feel good enough? You don't feel worthy enough to be their partner, that they're going to reject us so much? Where are those insecurities seated inside of us? If I have to tell someone something and uh, I'm afraid of how they're going to view me, how they're going to view me, well, that's an internal thing. How are you already viewing yourself? That's the reflection, that's the projection. You already have some sort of guilt or shame over it, and you're putting that onto somebody else. So that is naturally, it's just projection. We got the magician and the hermit. Introspection and manifesting. Well, we can look at this in several different ways. Uh, we'll start with just going within and really focusing on uh, who I am, what I believe in, how I view myself, and really building this foundation of the truth. And then sticking to that. And then anything that's happening out there, all this chaos and stuff that comes in, is going to I'm going to make the decision, whether I know it or not, of if I take ownership of this. And a lot of times when we're not in a place to know, we are at the mercy of it. It gets in our head and it directs us, it guides us, it limits us. And until we really take time to go in there and get a hold of who we are, what we're capable of in our true self, are we going to have a hand on it? Otherwise, we're at the mercy of all this. Uh, Now, I guess we'll just stick with these three, if I got a project or something, I need to I need to remember what initiated it. Where was that passion, that drive, that excitement that I had, and that ability, that confidence? And then if that's who I am, that's what's leading here. This is the guiding force. And holding true to that. Same thing with I like someone and I want to ask them out or bring myself into their experience, uh, feeling worthy enough. And if not, understanding the bigger picture. It's not a direct reflection on us that I'm not good enough, or they don't like me, or they don't see me as quality. We need to build up what we are beforehand. We have to remember, if I present myself as not good enough, not worthy, and I present myself to someone like that, well, they're going to prove to me that's true. We have to walk into these things with these uh, uplifted qualities. Otherwise, we're going to have proof, which the rejection would be proof of how I feel in here. No different than I'm holding back some information that I know needs to be told to someone, and I'm worried how they're going to feel about me. But I already feel this way, where I'm projecting this outcome. Well, then it's going to happen. Or uh, that guilt is inside and we're projecting it onto the other individual. And probability they could prove that to us because we already feel that way. The magician manifesting, just going back to that project, that goal, that partner, and even the negative aspect of the individual being upset with me when I tell them this information because I've held it on too long. We can create all those experiences, however we're feeling inside. We can create those, good or bad. If I don't feel good enough for this person to like me, they can prove that to me. If I'm afraid that how they're gonna view me when I tell them this information, Well, that is something I am manifesting. When we're working towards a project or a goal, and things from the external came in, limiting beliefs, knocked down my self-esteem, my drive, and I took a hold of that. I'm not good enough. I'm not going to succeed. And that's like in the back of my head, but I'm still going towards it. Well, I can manifest that. It's always going to be there. You're not good enough. These things are very powerful, and sometimes it's hard to turn them off. But it's a guide in a way to show us uh, what's going on, where we're heading. We'll just get one last card here, Spirit, for secretive. It's really coming down to building a strong foundation in self, knowing yourself. And we may not know at times because the external has created this view of us. The Hanged Man, new paradigm, seeing things from a different perspective, naturally. When we start out, we are. I just did a video. I'll have that one tagged. It had to do with like the shadow aspect, and I called it Little Old Me. We were on a road, and there was two yellow lines, and there was like this little individual here in the middle, and that's like our true self. And then we had this big figure, probably like the size of me, on the right lane of the road, and that's who we always think is us, is driving. It's the loudest one, it's the pushy one, and we may not view it that way all the time, or the decisions that this individual made were the safe ones because it kept it alive, and we wore masks to not hurt it, and it had free range of the road. And how often does little old me get to talk? How small it is. The shadow is casted over it. We don't even see it half the time. Seeing things that, hey, this guy isn't really me. And no matter what aspect we are, these internal feelings is this, and it's the loudest one, and it's all we see. It's how the world sees because it's so big versus this little Lego-sized person here on the road. And by always being there, where was I going? By always being projected out, and if we really start to pay attention to uh, my worries and my fears, this is more or less for the partner or the I have to tell someone situation. We have to start to see that, hey, what I'm putting out there isn't really that person's reaction yet. It is something I'm holding inside, and I'm placing it on them because why would I take responsibility? That I'm not feeling good enough to be their partner. I'm not worthy enough to be their partner, and that's why they're going to reject me. Or this person is going to see me badly because of this information or whatever it is, but I already feel that way about myself, and I'm putting it on them. It's projection. We're starting to see things differently with the goal or the dream, and we had all this great drive and passion towards it, and we're afraid to talk about it, or maybe we have, and all these other things came in to take that away. We're seeing it for what it is. Is this mine? Is this not mine? Uh, Very basic on thoughts, energies, and emotions. I'm going to leave it here. The big thing around it is building self and our foundation in here. And the external is going to be the external. We choose subconsciously, more than likely, what we identify with. So whatever comes in, we have to go back and forth to say, who am I? Where is my foundation? And what is knocking me down or taking me away? So anyway, if this resonated, feel free to like, comment, share, or subscribe. I will talk to y'all later.